How's it going, everybody? We got Yvania in the house. We got another show after this. It's going to be different with April Fontana, where she's going to do some healing in the Zoom room. We've never done that before, but we're going to give it a shot. Let me get Yvania up here. Let's see. Here we go. Here we go. What's happening, stranger?
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm good now.
Yeah? Oh, you're good now. Oh,
Yeah.
we got to talk about this. What happened? Was it today?
No, it was earlier this week or over the weekend, I think. I went through 3 days of darkness.
Really?
Yeah.
So today's Thursday. So this was this past weekend. That's I don't know the exact days, and I know you're a day ahead of me, but I went through 3 days exactly. In fact, when it started, I told Morgan I checked in, I tuned in. It's going to go on for 3 days. Mine was all through the body. It was all physical. It was like just really, I don't know, really enhanced, expanded, I don't know, ascension symptoms, like nothing I've ever felt before. So I don't know if it was the same thing you were going through. How did it go for you?
Yeah, it's funny because I write about these things, and then from the perspective, sometimes I think, oh, this is a collective message.
Yeah.
And then I find myself within it and eat a bit of humble pie too, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I just felt like I heard the words like a collective judgment day, and forgiveness was in there as well. And my body was just overcome with nausea. I was throwing up. I was going both ways, right? And it was just intense. My physical body was so ill. And as I was being sick and throwing it up, all this stuff was coming out of my cells, all these thoughts, all the collective angst and anxiety, the whole lot. And it was like I was just being nailed on the cross, really. It was like a judgment day.
Right is the number for that are in this particular 33 on my page. There's about 60 people on, but 33 Jesus's number right when you said nailed to the cross. But you just described exactly what I went through. I did not throw up. I had the dry heaves. I had exactly what you said. I felt exactly what you felt, and I told Morgan later, I said it was like it wasn't even like it. It happened. I would have these waves, and I would be in my body, observing all the cellular transformation. I think the second night, I didn't sleep the whole night. I was up. I finally went out of the room about 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. I laid on the couch and I might have dozed off for 20 minutes. I didn't sleep the whole night. I was groaning, moaning. I mean, it was brutal.
Yeah, it was. I didn't sleep at all either.
And
The whole time.
I also got that it was collective. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't sleep either the whole time. And I just had all just laying there, just with all these different voices and thoughts. It was so noisy of all these judgments.
Yeah.
And perspectives, different perspectives, not ones that I would usually prefer to have come through to my awareness, but they were so loud. And that's how I've felt really the last few weeks. I've been really quiet off social media and that sort of thing, because it was getting so noisy. As noisy as the fear was, there was this noise coming from the light as well. And this period last year was very much the same, but this is on steroids, this energy, you know, and it's screaming out. Both sides were, it was almost like this frenzy of energy, just, you know, and the only thing you can do is just be still and sort of pull back to pull in. I didn't see anything. I haven't seen any of your shows or anything much at all, but I did catch the one you did with Morgan. I caught a bit of it. And I remember something you said about an experience you had to do with a galactic nature. I think you were mentioning like an entity of Draconian or something like that.
Reptilian.
Yeah, reptilian. And it really, that energy, that galactic energy is also coming in at the same time while we're going through 0 point, right?
Yeah.
So when I went through this intensely, it was such an eye-opening experience to see from another perspective what some of these beings and their roles are. I had a really one of those deliverance kind of moments in 2017 when a being came right before me. It was like real life. I was sitting on my deck and it appeared. And just to back up a little bit, from my childhood, I'd always experienced these beings and I would always be asked to choose love or fear, right? Yeah. And it was a constant thing that I experienced for half my life, more than half my life. And it scared the shit out of me, right? It really did. And through the years, as I worked through all this fear energy, it just dissipated because I just wouldn't entertain. I would always just stand in my presence and my love. But this day, this being turned up and came with the most incredible love, compassion. And I'm talking, you know, the beings with the red eyes and the ones that, you know, and just the love and the reverence that I felt was absolutely incredible. And it was a please forgive me, because I was just fulfilling my role for you.
That's exactly what we were. That's exactly what we got.
Incredible experience, because that was the biggest fear I'd ever faced. Yeah. Standing right in front of me. And I was just in tears for days. And that experience has never left me. Everything is for us. Everything.
Yeah. Yes, and yes. You know, the one thing too, for people that didn't get the whole thing, the context of it, reptilian energies came in to the room, There was no fright, there was no fear, there was an air of love and honor and respect. It was almost as if they were human. It was not their human, it was their higher self. And they said, from a higher perspective, that it's time for us to leave your field because the love has elevated to a point we can't stay. We've done our job. It's not always been easy. And this is how we set this thing up, and this is a role we played.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's part of it. And then the other thing you said that I wanted to mention was what you said about, the social media. And almost like, we say, oh, there's too much negativity. But,
yeah.
And I don't want to say there was too much positivity, but it was the light holders or the intention of light, maybe, I don't know, that was too much.
Yeah.
It was like too self-righteous and too much separation. And I put up a little meme that said, basically too much light, too much dark. It doesn't matter which one, either one of them will pull you off the 0 point. Today, Morgan got a huge download like 3 hours ago. It just boom, came in, and I've seen her go through a lot of them, and this one just came out of nowhere. I knew immediately it was collective. We talked about it a little bit. She felt it was collective, but of course it always has that humbling personal aspect to it. And what came out of it basically was we were talking because we're right down the street from the beach. You can't go to the beach. And we were talking about how ludicrous this is. Like, what are we doing here? We're just following directions, like blindly. Like, we can go to the grocery store down the street where there's all these people that have touched all these things and common areas and close proximity inside a closed building, where you could just walk down to the beach and there's so much space, and you wouldn't have to sit next to anybody. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And how crazy is that? So it kind of went from there, and a few other things we observed. And she said, I think what the energy is that we're 0 pointing is our sovereignty. And so you cannot comply with this illusion of authority. But at the same time, you cannot rebel. Okay? You can't do either. They're one and the same. And this is an important 0 point because it takes out any type of charge that it can engage the fear-based programming. There's more fear-based frequency coming from the 99%, and that would make sense because that's a lot bigger than, say, the 1%. But think about turning that around. If 1% can create a fear-based program that can be perpetuated by the 99% and expanded, which we've all lived, what about if the 99% or even 1% of the 99% or 2 or 3 or 4 turns that into a 0 point frequency with no charge? What kind of effect would that have? I mean, this is the unveiling. And it takes you, like what you just went through, things that you didn't want to see that are challenging your 0 point, that are showing you things you may not be comfortable with, which is what? Serving you. And the unveiling is what? Teaching us or showing us what the 0 point is and the responsibility that we have for the whole collective experience.
Yeah. It's all about 0 pointing, self-sourcing, self-regulating before the collective. There's so many reasons why we have to do this neutrality, this 0 pointing. But how different is that out there, that control, that whatever, the fear, any different to what we've done to ourselves in the past?
Yeah.
And in holding ourselves prisoner from the fear of our own love, our own power. There's absolutely, it's a perfect mirror for what we've been doing to ourselves by choice, by allowing that.
Well, we copied the energy.
Yeah.
We didn't, we copied the energy because the energy was put upon us. Let's call it the patriarchal mold was molded upon us or impressed upon us, embedded in us, or however you want to put it. We copied that. We responded with compliance, which meant that we gave into it, or we responded with rebellion, which means we probably even made it worse by, being on that extreme of the polarity.
Yeah, fighting against it, mm-hmm. Which, there's something to fight against. Once again, it comes back into alignment. Everything has to get pulled in. It's like in Star Trek, before that spacecraft goes into light speed, you see this light, and it goes into one and then somewhere else. It's exactly how we travel. It goes through that 0 point.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it, but absolutely, when we're self-regulating, self-sourcing, our own inception points within our own energetic field. If we look at a torus field, all those particles, let's call them out, like creation, what we're experiencing, all of it, we have to bring all of that into our central flow, into our point, which is the 0 point. All those experiences, all those thoughts, everything is part of our own creation that we bring in. When we are to connect collectively and to create with that, every single person has to be responsible for the inception point where they come into the collective, and also for every other inception point within that collective. Yeah. So this 0 pointing is everything. It's
absolutely
the start of creation. It's the start of how we create. And we can't move on to aligned creation without being this 0 point ourselves.
You cannot ascend, obviously, if you're in fear. Okay. And we're saying ascend being a, not necessarily a place, but you know what I mean? Just we cannot achieve that being in fear. That's obvious. But we cannot achieve it on the other end of the spectrum either. We can't achieve it being a Republican or a Democrat or a racist or prejudiced in any way, or a supporter of a movement like QAnon or anything. It doesn't even matter what it is. It doesn't matter how right you think it is. The 0 point is the 0 point. I'm going to share with you. I don't normally do this because normally Morgan and I will talk about stuff, but because it's you and because we always seem to go like that, and if you suffered 3 days on or about the weekend, I know it was around the same time I did. And if I was off, it was because I'm a day behind you. But it was 3 days exactly. And she was there and she witnessed the whole thing. In fact, she held space, and I think that's why she didn't get this download till today. Last night, it was very little said to us, but it was huge. And I'm going to go ahead and tell the story. I know she'll understand, because she even said when we were talking before the show, it's great that we're talking about this and you're going on with Yvania. I'm like, yeah. So it was very quick too. We lay down, put our hands together, and within a couple of minutes, they came in. And so she channeled, and they said, and I could feel the vibrancy of the message, in a non-audio way, audible way. So they said, "Are you willing to die on Friday?" Now, she doesn't even know the Bible, right? She said, "What, like when did Jesus die?" Whatever. We talked about it later. I said, "Well, yeah, Good Friday." But are you prepared to die? To be resurrected on Sunday? Are you willing to die on Friday to be resurrected on Sunday? Now, as soon as it was said to me, I said, yes. And I, of course, took it in as an energetic thing, because it's always first an energetic thing, and don't even think about the literal aspect of it, because it doesn't matter. She said, yes, which is normally what happens. And then she said, I'm in fear, which was very unusual, never happened before. So it was almost like she flipped. She was pulled in the higher self, and then her human goes, but I'm in fear. And then she said, but I surrender, I surrender. She kept saying, I surrender. And then again, it got quiet and then came back again. Do you understand what you're saying? Are you ready to die to be resurrected? And I said, yes. And then she said, yes. So we talked about it a little bit, and what did that mean? And of course, we don't ever know fully what anything means, because once we start trying to, talk about it at the human level, but our take on it is, and I've always felt that you can't take anything in the 3D with you to the 5D. When you said the thing about the spaceship on Star Trek, that's exactly what, if you would have asked me, what did you go through last night without the words she gave you, that's what I would have saw. I saw like this space, and then all of a sudden you die, which means blindly dive into the void of nothingness, and whew, you're on the other side, and you're in a paradise. Now, what they said in the transmission was that if enough people make this choice and disengage and detach from all things, right? All, you know what I'm talking about, all belief systems, everything, friends, family, everything, that this world would do that. Now, I don't know if that would happen or wouldn't happen. I don't know if that's two earths splitting. I don't know anything, but I just know that, to me, the message is telling me that we're very, very close. And to me, the only thing that seems to be in the way is this convoluted energy that you're describing, that you stepped away from. When you mentioned about the noise, 2 or 3 people mentioned the same thing here. That's the only thing I see is an over representation of what we might call dark or negative, and an over representation of positive, or what we might call light. Where, we're going to bring these people to justice, and I'm not saying that these things aren't real at the human level, they are, but we're no longer subjected to this illusion where we're only human and small, suffering and in pain. And we have to let everything go, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. That description of that light has always been something that I've seen as an event. And at the time, where I've looked back on what I've received about the 2 worlds existing at the same time before this.
Yeah.
In, I think, December, January, I can't remember. We didn't talk about this last time, but we touched on it, where I had this experience of all stargates and portals being open on this plane. And what happened for me was there was this huge opening, let's call it a stargate, and out came these golden white beings. But it was the first one that came through. As soon as I saw them and I was walking towards this stargate, I felt just that love that, that is just, you can't even describe, because it's so embodying. It's so, there's no words. I knew everybody there, some that I've known here, others not. But the first person that walked towards me was me.
Yeah. And
I have never seen myself in a timeline merge like that. Wow. It was an incredible moment. And that is here at the same time right now going on.
Yeah.
So it really is. I mean, this is happening. It's not something that we thought about as in, we knew this was going to happen, but this is real. Mm-hmm. And the 0 point is everything. This neutrality is everything.
Yes, it is.
To bring about, and it will happen. It is going to happen. It's just allowing it, giving ourselves permission to allow this to be.
Yeah.
Just give up the fight and be in that love. That it's, you know, so many people will talk about love, and yet their walk is not of love.
Mm-hmm.
It's the judgments, it's the competition that separate.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is their own creation and creator. Why would you judge somebody else for their own creation?
No.
It just seems it's silliness. It's time to grow up and
yes.
to be the boots on the ground, as you say, love in action, and really the way forward is to show this space, to be this space for all, so that we can bring it all together, because there doesn't need to be suffering. There doesn't need to be any of this.
No, it doesn't.
No.
And you're right. There is nothing but the 0 point. And you can call the 0 point a lot of things. You can call it Christ consciousness. You can call it whatever you want to call it. But you know what it is? And Morgan says it, and you just said it. It's grow up. Grow the fuck up.
With love. Say that with love.
Yeah.
Grow up.
And I'm saying it to myself, but I mean, I'm really saying it to myself. Grow the fuck up. You can't. There are no exceptions. I will not comply. I will not rebel. My soul is neutral, and I am soul. You know, I mean, we are that. We are that. Fear is the only thing, it's the only thing that has fed the extremes of the polarities, the duality. But we've copied the fear. And now we know we're the programmers. And what is programming at the human level, at the gut level, which we can't get away from? That's part of this whole thing. We signed up to embody it. So we try something different. We've tried let's counter it with an equal or greater than alternate charge, a positive charge versus the negativity, our concept of love versus the fear. But it's not that. It's actually that 0 point. It's actually another quick example. Morgan had, like you, she recently, let's say in the past week, when we've laid down after we finish our stuff, we do our own stuff. So all these people from her past, from her whole life, just started popping up in front of her. People she had problems with. So they went into her heart over and over and over again. She accepted their shadow. So what happens the next night? They show up again. She's like, oh my God, I thought we've already done this. Not to mention I've done it many other times. They said, no, now that you've accepted their shadow, now you can accept their light. So that's a big thing too. When we don't realize, regardless of who we're talking about or what we're talking about, take an institution or a person, of the horrible things they did, there is a part of them that we've not looked at that actually is good. We got to remember the different perspectives and the different places we're all coming from, the different roles we're all having.
Yeah, and sometimes the only thing you can find that's good is the gift that you got from that experience. Sometimes that's what you can find. But when we get to this 0 point as a collective, and we get to start co-creating from this, it's not as though you can't have a preference. The whole point is that when you are a creator, you create the things that you wish to experience. but doing it from the center point of neutrality. You're aware of everything around you that you've created, and you don't judge it as being good or bad because there's no point in it. It's simply an experience that you're enjoying having. Maybe you will have a little bit of you won't even see it as polarity because it's not even a word. It's that is it. Everything just is, but there's more of this than there is of that. But it's a perfect ingredients, if you like, in something that you're making. All of the ingredients go to make it, and all of creation is from the 0 point. There's no escaping it. There's no escaping this point of bringing everything into self. So it's a beautiful time for this. Learning that within self right now, a perfect opportunity to continuously check in, self-regulating before we can do it together.
And this is the human species contribution to the universe. It really is. It's a being in a dense atmosphere, being conscious, overcoming all the fears, pulling up the love, pulling up the wisdom, the courage, open-mindedness, and all that stuff, and transforming this stuff. And I know that sounds hokey dokey and all that, but you know, the thing is we've tried everything else. You said it. Grow up. Let's grow up. I mean, no one's going to do it for us. And here's the thing too that you said that's so important. Everything is birthed from the 0 point. You have something birthed, and then you know the lines get drawn, and the waves go out, and you know it's perpetuated and expanded, and it's like Earth, and it's really not expanding. It's just there, and at some point, the point we're at now, that 0 point creates. That's a place of new universes, new planets, new life. This is why I think the divine union connections are here, because they're microcosms of that.
Yes.
You know? We also talked
that
about
0 point.
Yeah. We talked about 2 or 3 nights ago. We hit a place for 20 minutes, and it was like that thing you talked about, where you go to that space and you feel all that. But we were intimate, and it was happening. And the walls are gone, the ceiling's gone, and it was so powerful we had to stop. And I think that affected us as humans, you know, at the human level for 2 or 3 days. But this is in that interlude, something was birthed, right? And other people we've talked to, it's occurred, and I know you know what I'm talking about, but that's the place that things are birthed. And we all know that everything happens at an energetic level first, even though manifestation is accelerating in the time that, you know, the idea or the thought occurs in the actual physical event. But I mean, you're right. This is happening, period. And I think what we got that I described last night is telling me that we can get there as quick as we want to.
Yeah. We can, but it's going to take a lot of all of us first learning that within self-regulating first, self-sourcing, self-realizing, which is where we're at.
Yeah.
Collectively, to move forward, we have to have that part of our piece of the puzzle before it connects to the other is this energy of source that we are.
Yeah.
And it's just where it's at. You know, so we will sit back and observe from this place, from this space, whilst creating that which we wish to experience at the same time. So as much as it's a time of stillness and going within, there is also that creative aspect as well, which for me, if I wish to create something in the physical, like expressing through music or whatever it is, it's such a great way to get in touch with that expression within self.
Yeah.
That's you know, the different notes or the different colors of things and how it makes you feel helps you to see where there might be a stoppage or a blockage of that flow. You know, if we go back to the Taurus, as soon as we grab something or we're aware of something and we judge it, it stops. And then one side's flowing, you know, it's like putting a big boulder in the river. Eventually it'll go around it, but that's still there. Mm-hmm. And so we have to learn to just allow it to move through it without judgment, you know, like water flowing through the rock instead of around the rock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as we grab something, it stops. It's great to grab something to create with a focus point, but it still has to come from the 0 point field, from neutrality first, before you can create, if that makes sense. It's just the divine flow of the divine law, if you like, of creation.
Yeah.
And nature will have the last say if we don't get this in this part we're going through now. Nature will have a say.
Sure it will. And either way, theoretically, from the human perspective, either way we're going to die.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to die, you know, whether I'm stuck in this, you know, quarantine thing or able to roam freely or whatever, to thine own self be true. I mean, to thine own self be true is a 0 point. That's like the marriage of the universe and the universe, you know, you yourself. And I mean, it's almost, I don't want to say mundane, but compared to the channeling and the transmissions and the downloads and the events the visitations like you've had, it seems like, oh my God, is that all there is? I've got to sit down here and do this drudgery. 2 questions came up, and I'll lead into one. I'll give you the other one, and you can comment on the first one too. Michael said, you know, can you explain 0 pointing? That's where I'm going with it. So is it 0 pointing is human work. It's a conscious, honest effort to integrate 2 polarities. And so as an example, I can look at this thing that we talked about, this worldwide quarantine or whatever you want to call it. And on one end, I can comply, which it looks that most of the world is. But this is also the pattern of our behavior collectively for thousands of years. And we don't want to stay the same. I think everybody can agree to that. On the other end, you have rebellion, revolution. You know, we've done that. That's a polarity. Michael, thank you for the question. It could be anything. It could be anti-QAnon, pro-QAnon, anti-Trump, pro-Trump, anti-American and American. It could be so many different things. And it is to pull that into a space where they're one and the same. Source is neutral. We're made in the image. What we've created in our dream state, basically, the illusion part of it is not the true image. It's the play. It's the thing, right? You know, so, but from a human level, what does that require? That requires, you know, I make a list of my ex-spouse, of all the things I didn't like about him or her, and I own them as my own. And then I go to the alternate, and this is just one method, but then I go to the polarity. If they were bossy, then I integrate that, and then the opposite, you know, passive or docile or whatever. I mean, this is it sounds very, you know, tedious, but this is the real thing. The 0 point requires the conscious human being to merge with the higher self knowing.
Yeah. 0 point for me is in as easy as breathing in and breathing out without the mind interacting, simply just being and is, with no judgment. I'm a mum, and there's nothing that my daughter could do, say, whatever, that would make me feel any less love. That is where it's at.
Yeah.
If we think of ourselves as cosmic guardians, as parents of our own creation, loving all of our children equally, doesn't matter what they say or do, they have their own perspective on whatever it is they want to experience. But we stay in that neutral place of love. And it can be as simple as breathing in and out. It's the mind that will get in the way. The collective mind past this experience in this reality is all from that space. Collective creating. The collective, I'm getting this word, but it's not coming through. The collective creative mind, yeah. So that's what it is. It's that space, that love for all and all perspectives.
Yeah.
And it really is a beautiful thing. Some of it's really trippy because you would never have thought of even experiencing that, and some people really do have some really amazing experiences that they create.
Yeah, that's right.
And others don't, maybe because they're not game enough to jump really into themselves and allow themselves to expand and imagine beyond what they thought was possible, right? So it's all a beautiful concoction of experience.
Yeah. And we're what? We're like, there's no veils, we're the veils now.
Yeah.
There are no veils. And so like we're sitting here talking about physical, literal things that are controlling us. We're not even physical. We are non-physical in a body, which is the opportunity and the honor and the mission that we're on to actually merge the two, right? So we're sitting here. It's so much of the conversation. I'm talking as a whole, not me and you. We're energy. We're energy. We got to be careful. People talk about words being spells. That's energy. So if energetically I see a horizon over here that I can't go beyond because whoever said you can't go to the beach. It's 3 minutes away. You can't go to the beach. Think about the energetic noose around my neck. All right. If I say yes to that, if I comply to that. Okay. Now, if I don't comply and I don't rebel and I just go out as a free and sovereign soul with a neutral charge, I probably won't even encounter any problems. But more important to me is it opens up what is beyond all this. If I want to go see, as an example, I want to go to the beach, I go to the beach. That's going to open the door. If I want to go visit my friend Yvania in Tasmania, I can go right now. This is what we have in front of us. Teleporting is not like, oh, we need this technology and we need to find the secret space program. No, it's not. It's right here.
Yeah.
We can energetically get to a neutral charge right here.
Yeah.
Right here.
Yep. And as each of us know that, we will. And it will, like you said, it will happen in an instant. But there needs to be all of the ones that the word chosen wants to be expressed, because not everyone's going to choose this experience.
True.
That we're moving towards. A lot of us are, mass majority are, others aren't, and that's okay too. That's why there's the different realities. there'll be a separation and an emerging, and it all happens at once, right?
Yeah.
Because everything always happens at once. But I think the biggest fear is that of death.
Of course.
So if you're an infinite being, which so many of us know, do we really know if that fear is within us, that we are fearful of death? There's nothing to fear when you don't have a fear of death.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And I think this whole experience has brought up a fear of not only control, but a fear of death. And that's something that we need to take in and bring into neutrality and really feel into that infinite state. How far can you feel yourself expand?
Yeah.
Because when you do feel into your heart, you don't feel a closed door and a bang, like what we would imagine some of us that death feels like, just closed door, bang, over, and there's nothing. I've never been into my heart and experienced no expansion. It just goes on and on and on and on and on, and it never, ever finishes. It just keeps growing. So
it doesn't have a wall.
No, it doesn't have a wall.
It doesn't say stop before you get to the beach. Yeah,
No.
You're right. It's endless. It's limitless. We're so close.
Yeah.
That's what I feel. And I mean, the great thing about this whole situation is the isolation. It's the isolation, the removal from the patterns of going to work and all that stuff. And in one way or the other, we will all go there. We will all meet there with the universe. We will all be there in that solitude. We will all face every single thing that is keeping us from that 0 point. And it's not about whether it's going to happen or whether someone's going to make it or not make it, because we're eternal. But what it is saying to us, this is another thing Morgan and I were talking about. She says, we've always adapted. We always adapt to what's put before us. And then she said these magic words, I want to create my own reality. And I think that's where we're at. In a 5D frequency or dimension, there's nothing to adapt to because nothing's being forced upon you.
That's right.
But instead of waiting for some quote unquote authority to come out with a perfect equanimity, the perfect vibration of fairness and a just frequency, it's us that does it. We're the ones that do it. We're the ones that say, I will no longer participate in this. That's not a slight against anything outside of myself. That's a personal decision I'm making to claim my own sovereignty. When we do this stuff energetically, we don't even have to ask for the enhancement of our skills and abilities. They occur. The code occurs. The memories that we need to come back occur by taking this personal sovereignty. And we don't have to declare it to anybody or anything but the universe.
Yeah, I take my power back. All of it. From every dimension, every timeline, every space continuum that I've been powerless. I claim it back. I take it back. It's a statement. We've always had the ability to claim our sovereignty, our creatorship, all of it. And it's as simple as an I am statement, with that coming from that place of the heart where all the power is, right?
Yeah.
Since I was a little girl, those I am statements have always been given to me. They're powerful.
Yeah. Or we can just go get some red heels like Dorothy and click our heels to our red high heels and click our heels together.
That's it.
It's that's right. It's it. And you do. And when we make these decisions, they're being supported now. We're getting direct. We're having direct experience as a result of these energetic choices of sovereignty that we're making. And that's another thing I think we're starting to realize. It's not just, doesn't just happen in one, and it will. That Star Trek analogy that you gave will occur. There is that,
Yeah.
but it's a little choices all along the way of standing in your sovereignty, claiming your sovereignty, and honestly having your thoughts begin to create a trajectory of alignment with what, decisions you've made. Because we have gone through a human situation, and we might say, okay, I make up my mind to be sovereign right now, but because of our habits and behavior and patterns and conditioning, we might do a little something to go against that. But our soul's going to let us know. It's not going to damn us. It's just going to say, hey, check yourself. Get back on the path.
Yeah. Or not even. It's just all is accepted the way it is, the way you are. This experience that you're going through, is it moving you closer to what you wish to experience and what you are, or is it moving you away from that?
Yeah.
And as each person as each person realizes what they are and starts to stand in that 0 point, in that power, the whole outside, all of it, we don't have to protest, we don't have to stand against anything. Everything outside changes for all, not only for you, but for me, for everyone. That's how we do this. It's all energetic, and it's also physical, because we are experiencing ourselves in a physical body. Call it dreamland, call it astral realm, call it creation realms, whatever. Part of us is still here right now.
Yeah, that's right.
And so all levels, through all levels, we become into 0 point.
Yeah. And we think like if the multidimensional aspect, our personal, field, our personal makeup, we're like a train. We think that the human is the caboose, but the human is the locomotive. Yeah, the human is in the front. We have the power. We have the power. And there's a reason that the rest of our aspects are pushing us from behind in support.
It's an incredible experience, absolutely incredible, to be able to, through this reality that we've all been experiencing to get collectively, to actually be able to hold the entire planet, all its people, everything, in and bring it into one through this extreme polarity. I'm sure there was many that thought, now this is going to be really interesting to see.
Everyone I've talked to always
says, right? Not only do they not remember who they are, but then they've got to accept all the shit that goes down and this and that. Let's see. I mean, just to get where we are is huge, right? And it's happening. We're doing this, we know now it's time to put it into action. And right now that action seems to be, for a lot of us, stillness.
That's right. And when you're in stillness, what you need will present itself to be 0 pointed. We had a little bit of a screw up because of the time change in Australia and Tasmania. So we have a show. We have a show in 3.5 minutes. We have to go. But I want to tell everybody, we've never done anything like we're about to do. April Fontana is a very powerful healer. I believe we all heal ourselves, but I don't understand how that works. She's a cool lady, down to earth. So we're going to go to the Zoom room, and anybody that wants to do distance healing with her for the next hour, she's going to do it, and we're just going to see how it rolls, and see if we can generate something positive out of it and see what happens. So the post is on my wall. We'll be back live on these platforms in about 5 minutes. And if you want to have a healing, come on into, she's pretty remarkable. If you've watched the shows before with her on, come on into the Zoom room. The link's on my page. And Yvania, let's get together in a couple of weeks. Let's not wait so long.
Yeah.
Especially for the fact that you went through 3 days, the same 3 days. That tells me all I need to know. I love you.
Love you too. Thank you for being a star, and everyone else too.
You take care. Bye-bye.